All right, welcome guys to episode 37 of Prepared, your bi-weekly. Did we set it on fortnightly? I think we called it fortnightly.
Yeah.
Fortnightly TVC breakdown. So welcome guys. We got a kind of sparse on the official Blizzard stuff today, but we have a whole bunch of other topics we could talk about, like why top guilds fail. There was a video released by Progress, not Progress, by Tetsu, who quit running with Progress. And while we can't obviously discuss the things that aren't said behind the scenes because we don't know exactly what happened from he said, she said, and such, there's a lot of topics we can flesh out within that, like why top guilds fail, the top guilds and streaming in top guilds, and the different aspects of what really makes a top guild run and
Yeah.
what caused the video. I think it's more interesting that the topic of what caused the video than the actual video itself in a lot of ways. But yeah, so we're gonna talk about that, and then with Zirene has week 3 warglaives, so we're gonna talk about that as well. He one of the first guys to finish his warglaive somehow. Then we got curses removing or not allowing people to access their API for add-on updates and such any longer. So that's a whole interesting topic as well. But how you doing, Zirene?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I've been having a good week. It's been a fun time with the warglaives, but playing all my characters, and I recently kind of pulled the Tetsu as well and left Rain.
Ooh,
So
that's interesting. I
my
did not know
my
that.
three alliance characters don't have a guild right now. So my LD Shaman, my prop paladin, and my prop warrior are all like GDKP tunes now on alliance side. So basically
Oh,
only
that's
my
interesting. So this will add to our topic that we can discuss as
yeah.
well. Oh, that's
Yeah.
very topical. It's nice of you to leave your guild so that we have more to talk about on the
I
podcast, Zirene.
mean, you're welcome. You're very welcome. But yeah. Oh, so yeah, no, it's been a good time, dude. It's been a good time. Homeless tunes, that's okay. The one that's in a guild has warglaives.
Yeah,
So
yeah. The
yeah,
one
yeah.
the one that already has warglaives. That one doesn't matter anymore if he ends up homeless. He's good.
It's really funny because people were telling me that apparently there's rumors going around where people think I got warglaives in Rain and then left Rain because people know that I have warglaives and then they also know I G quit this week. So they're different tunes completely. They've never been in the same guild. I didn't quit after I got warglaives. That's false news. That's fake news.
I would
People think I got
100%
warglaives
put
and
a chat
quit, dude.
command that yes, I quit Rain after I took warglaives.
Yeah, dude. Like, everybody, like apparently there's rumors going around like that. My friend is like just sitting there like, dude, there's these people talking shit about you in this random Discord. I'm like, what? And they're like, yeah, he G quit after he got warglaives. I'm like, wait, what the fuck is going on? It's like, yes, technically I did G quit after I got warglaives, but I G quit on a different tune
Hey, the
in a different
statement is
guild.
not incorrect, Zirene. The statement is not incorrect.
It is not incorrect that I did press /G quit on my keyboard after getting warglaives, but I did it on a completely different tune in a completely different guild. So, that it's a story, but it's not the complete story. So yeah. I also ninja'd the warglaives. Yes, I did. Yes. Yeah, Yellow Ninja applied the expose armor or the weaken armor. What's that copy pasta? It's like Yellow Ninja apply the destroy armor, secure the warblade priority. I love that. It's good.
All right. So, I mean, I guess since you brought it up, why did you quit Rain?
I ended up quitting Rain because Rain had always had some problems, like not to like drag their name in the dirt or the mud or anything like that. They always had some problems with like edgy gamer culture, and it was kind of no secret. And trying to change that from the inside and outside perspective or perception doesn't change as quickly. So I always got questions where it's like, why are you in a guild full of racists and stuff like that? And I'm like, I understand that their history was like that. But it ultimately got to the point where I'm just like, I have like equal opportunities and as good guilds on Horde side or on Alliance side on Benediction. What's the difference between this guild and the other guilds? And it's that one of them has a bad reputation that I'm in and the other ones don't. So maybe it's a grass is greener type situation, but I just felt like I was compromising my morals constantly to try and help a guild with its internal crusade to battle the edgy people inside of it. So I also felt like I was like, who am I to change a guild's culture? They didn't ask for me to come in and be like, hey, let's stop saying these things. Let's be more, culturally sensitive. Let's be, more PC. because they're trying to have fun on the internet. If that's their like definition of fun, they can have that. That's fine. But I just don't want to be a part of it, right? So I don't want to come in and be like, hey, I'm going to clean up this guild. They didn't even ask for that shit. So that's basically where I stood on it. Is I'm like, one, didn't ask. Like they didn't ask for my help to change this stuff. So why am I doing it? Why am I putting myself in that position? Because it's also a lose-lose situation where I was like, if they don't change their culture, then I have to just kind of grit my teeth and deal with, comments that I find comments that I find like really offensive, right? Or fucked up. So that's a loss for me. If they do change their culture, the edgy members of the guild go in a separate Discord and talk shit about me or lose respect for me and like basically badmouth me, right? So I felt like it's a kind of a lose-lose where I'm just going to get called like a pussy behind my back and stuff, or I'm going to just have to grit my teeth and deal with these things. So I didn't really see like a win there for me. So that's why I G quit ultimately, because I can't stream comms for that guild because there's some people who are just like a fucking, they are a disaster waiting to happen, right? I learned very quickly I had to turn off names in my like custom names in my details. I had to turn off chat bubbles, and I was just sitting there going like, is this like the price you have to pay to be in a top guild? And when I started playing on Horde side in a different top guild, they have zero issues like this. They have zero problems like this, and they're just as good, if not better. And that's the thing that made me go like, so why am I actually compromising this part? The thing is too, is that when I left, like the GM approached me and he was like, this is a bit of a surprise to me because the culture is actually better than it has ever been. And that is true. They are actually way better than they've been in the past. It's basically almost all completely gone. But it's just the chance is still there that one of the members one day is going to say something, show up in Discord drunk, a little high or whatever, and say something. And you're just like, why do I have to do this? My friend who was also in the guild who had his life partner is black, and he was afraid to open Discord around her because somebody might be going on a fucking tirade randomly or posting a meme that they think is funny. I think at one point there was somebody in the guild who was like having a fight with me, asked another guy in the guild to take, my famous like dancing thing.
Oh yeah.
They photoshopped me dancing on George Floyd's neck.
Ugh.
Yeah. That actually really pissed me off because I like, why are these are my guildies. These are my guildies doing this. And I don't think they understand just how much like having an online presence matters, right? For them, it might just be, hey, it's the internet. Stuff on the internet doesn't matter. It's like, yes, it does matter. My entire career is the internet. So yeah, it is stuff like that where I was just like, I don't want to have to deal with this anymore. I know that after I left, somebody sent me screenshots recently, like last few days, where they actually just posted that they're doing a complete zero tolerance policy, and they kicked all of the people that I had a problem with. So I don't know if this is something where it's like, I'm going to go back or I'm going to reapply, or if I'm going to apply elsewhere. That's why I'm like floating my tunes right now. But the people who were problems seem to have been weeded out in the last few days. And they posted a complete zero tolerance policy because it was never written down that they had a big issue with it. And they kind of just let their culture free flow. So I want to say like, I got to take the good with the bad and be like, I do think that they are doing better than ever. I do applaud them for actually cracking down now. That's the good. The bad is that it was happening in the first place. So yeah, I do think it's very hard to, as a leader of a guild, to try and weed out these types of things when you're trying to be competitive. Because when you build your guild culture on this, a lot of edgy gamers will come in who are good players, right? If a lot of good players come in and your top DPSer, what if your main tank is somebody who posts racist comments, right? He's the person who helps you be competitive. But at the same time, as a guild leader, you're just worried about results. You're not worried about culture as much when you're trying to be competitive. And I understand that. But at the same time, it's now at a point where it's like there are enough people who play the game who are good at the game at the highest level that you don't need to do that, right? And in fact, it's a detriment now because back in the day, having this edgy culture was a plus for the guild. They could recruit people who were like wanted to be a part of this gamer circle. And now it's gotten to a point where it's like, hey, this is a red flag for a lot of good players who like are like, oh, Reign's a really good guild, like what's it like? And then you tell them and they're just like, I don't want to be a part of that. So their culture used to do them favors. I get it. It used to do them favors years and years and years ago, but now it works actively against their goal of being competitive. So for me, I kind of felt like I was in a position as a tank, as a core player to the guild, to take a stand and leave because I just I didn't think it was good enough. It was good, right? But it wasn't good enough. And so I'm happy that they're finally doing something about it. I don't know if I've now become like the sacrificial person to make that happen and I like don't go back, but I'm just glad that it's happening, you know?
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I stand on the whole thing, just to kind of sum it all up.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's why I G quit. There's a lot of like, because I had just played with them for a year. I had joined them like end of January in 2021. So it had just been a year with them. And I can tell you, it was absolutely fucking terrible in Classic. And in fact, in my time, it was better than it had been previously too. So I know there was a lot of edgy. Anybody who had run into this guild knows back in their Scarum days, back in their private server days, all that stuff, they were like edgy motherfuckers. And it had gotten better, admittedly. But like I said, if I had to describe the culture recently in one word, it's good. If I had to describe it in 3 words, it's not good enough. Right? So yeah, there's a lot to that story, as you guys can tell, but I hope that it gets even better. That's all I hope for them. Because I do like some of the people in there, right? And like I said, a lot of the people that I didn't like have been like removed or whatever. But at the same time, I'm sitting here going like, I don't want them to remove people because of me. I don't want it to be like, here's how I don't want things to go down. I don't want things to go down where
Freeze Zirene, hashtag freeze Zirene.
No, I'm the person who goes like, I won't play for you unless you get rid of these people. I just can't work like this. I just can't work like this. I don't want to be that person who like slangs dick around and goes like, yo, look how big my dick is, man. I'm the fucking tank. You guys can't play without me. Bah, get rid of this guy. Get rid of that guy. I don't like that guy. Like, I don't want to be that person. I don't like being that person. So a lot of times if I have like an issue with people in a guild, instead of being like, it's them or me, I will always just leave, right? I'm always just like, I'm just going to resign. And even if they remove the person after the fact, I'm kind of like, I don't know if that changes my opinion, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, I mean, to talk about why this whole topic even came up is that that was one of the reasons that Tetsu posted in his video when he was leaving Progress as well, is that there was a whole bunch of drama around having to kick and manage some members who were being edgy and saying gamer words and things like that. So it's interesting, the culture in the top guilds. And that's one thing I noticed when I joined Progress back in Classic was that at that time, okay, so this was a different time for Progress because they had a whole change of leadership in TBC with like a lot of people retiring and such. But at that time, they were very good about just no tolerance. You're not allowed to be racist. If you say nonsense, people crack down on it. And it was very different from all the other EU guilds, which have very bad reputations. A lot of the EU guilds have very bad reputations for being very racist openly and just saying things in Discord and guild chat and such. Whereas when I joined Progress, it was just like, no, if you say that, everyone else is going to jump on you and say, yeah, that's not cool, man. Don't do that. So it was I was very surprised actually when I saw Tetsu's thing. I was like, oh, wow, I guess all this drama came about because I haven't been on my Progress tune in TBC that much. And but why do you think it is like that? Is it something that comes from the private servers and it's just how they were being edgy on the private servers that made so many of these top guilds like kind of infested with that culture originally?
I'm not sure. I think it just might be an elitist gamer thing in general from the last like decade, because I just feel like that's what ends up happening for video games. It was kind of like a very male dominated like guy who's got a lot of resentment culture, etc. You talk about like Call of Duty lobbies, you talk about like old Halo Xbox Live stuff. People are just trying to insult each other constantly. It's kind of a man's culture, of like a kid's culture. And I just think that's kind of just how it went. So I know that for a very long time, because nobody had said anything, like in my opinion, people learn from repercussions or from consequences, right? There weren't any consequences on the internet of saying these things, right? There weren't any consequences. People say these things, nobody calls them out. They think it's funny. They don't get in trouble with their parents. They don't get in trouble with people in real life, right? And then when you grow up, you're just like, oh, I don't get in trouble with my employer for typing the N-word in an anonymous Discord where I'm playing World of Warcraft and I'm just being an edgy kid again. So that's my thought process behind it. Is I don't feel like people actually have experienced any repercussions or consequences from these things, so they don't learn that it's not good. And then they don't have the understanding of this is not okay. Because I actually had a lot of talks with people, and these are like real quotes where somebody says like, yeah, I say the N-word, but I'm not racist, right? And they like firmly believe that saying a word does not make them racist. It's just a word. And that is like a very strong stance that a lot of people have, where they're just like, I don't see the problem with saying this, because they're like, I'm not calling somebody this. I'm not like meaning it in this way. And it's, oh God. I remember when my friend who is black was having a conversation with somebody and they called him the N-word casually. And they didn't know he was black. And he just blew up on him. And he's like, what's going on? And then my other friend had to come in and say like, oh, no, he says this all the time. He says he says it to everybody. It doesn't matter if they're black or white. And he's just like, my friend who's black was just like, he's like, Jesus fucking Christ. Like, he's like, I understand he's being ignorant as shit, but like, you should not be saying that shit to anybody. So yeah, there are people who believe that, who firmly believe that like, just because you say a word doesn't make you racist. And I can partially understand why they think that way, because they're just like, it's just a word. I don't think that's the case on my side of things, but I know that that's why some people do it, because they just don't understand why, right? It's out of ignorance. So
yeah, I mean, it's interesting that that the culture has kind of shifted, as you said, where now it's become a detriment to have that reputation and that in the backgrounds, because I think what's happened is a lot of there's like you said, there's a lot of good gamers now who are not down with that sort of thing, and they don't want that reputation. They don't want to join a guild that's doing that sort of thing. And I mean, that's literally what caused some of the Progress members to quit, is that it wasn't being addressed fast enough from how they were used to it being addressed. So they're like, that's not cool, we kind of have that. So
and
yeah,
and not to like interrupt here, but I just had a thought where I'm like, and I know there's somebody out here who's going to be listening to this on, wherever we post it, YouTube, Spotify, etc., or even out there in the chat, who's sitting there going like, this is a TBC podcast. I'm not here to listen to people like peddle the PC culture to me. They're like, this is not what I'm here for. I'm here to enjoy games. I'm here to just do my thing. Who cares if I say words, right? There's going to be somebody out there who thinks this way. And I just want to say to them, like, I understand why you feel that way and why you think that way. But I want you to understand why people have an issue with it. Because you're saying it's just a word, and we're going, yeah, it is just a word. Why do you have to say it if it's really just a word, right? Because they're saying it's just a word, don't be bothered by it. And it's like, well, it is just a word. Why do you have to keep saying it, right? Yeah. If you really think that that's the case, because it bothers a lot of people. The amount of good that it does versus bad is heavily outweighed, regardless of how good you might think the consonants feel in your mouth when you say that word and how much it gets an expression across. That good is fucking heavily outweighed by the repercussions it could have for you if anything is ever leaked that shows you saying it, anything that is ever tied to you being even friends or accepting somebody who says that thing, or laughing at somebody saying that, or saying lol in a chat, anything like that. Just for your own sake, don't fucking say this shit. For the sake of other people, it's a completely different story, right? So if you're not going to care about like the person who has an issue with it, watch your fucking self when you say these things. Because that is something that I have personal experience with some of my friends back at like Riot and other places, having chat logs. And it even happens right now with like people in the game industry. Like you take Daniel Klein, for example, some guy who was working on Apex, who used to work on League of Legends, had like a thing from like, I think it was some blog website where he had written a poem and had like one character who was racist talking to another character. and it got pulled up when he did like a balance change that people didn't like. They were like, this is the same guy who wrote this, and they posted it, and it's like literally a decade ago, right?
Yeah.
And he's just like, well, that was a completely different person. He's like, that person should be fired. He's like, the person I am now is not that person, and he got fired anyway. So it's like that type of thing actually is very prevalent, and a lot of people won't want to touch you if they find out that you're that type of person. So if you can't care about, people who care about these things, fucking care about yourself a little bit. Like, this is actually like a little bit of a warning, to be honest, because I have seen this ruin people's careers, their livelihood, and it comes back years later when you don't think somebody in that Discord, in that guild Discord on WoW, who you're like typing to in 2022 when it's 2032 and you have a nice job and all that shit, that stuff is still not cool, man. So the sooner you realize it's not cool, the sooner you fucking get this shit out of your system, the better it's going to be for you and for everybody else. Because at the end of the day, it is just a word. You don't have to say it, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to do these things.
Yeah, well,
I'm sorry for that little preaching thing. I feel really strongly about these things. I wouldn't have gotten to the point where I leave a top guild because of this, right? So if I didn't have a problem with it. So
yeah. Well, I mean, it comes down to leadership at the end of the day. If to bring this back to the topic of how this relates to top guilds and WoW and all of that, it comes down to the leadership structure of the guild. And I know that some people, I don't want people to think that I'm talking for progress or anything like that. I barely played my progress tune since TBC started because I just haven't really had time to play yet another rogue, and no one wants rogues. But that's a whole different topic. But it comes down to that leadership structure where it seemed, at least from what I got from Tetsu's video, was that there was a big leadership change, and I did see a lot of the leadership step down going into TBC, and they were just burnt out, and they didn't want to be officer crew anymore because it's a lot of work to run a top guild, and it just seems like there was a lapse where there just wasn't much leadership structure and people to step up and stamp it out quickly enough in the existing. And I'm just guessing here, by the way. I'm not speaking for progress, guys, even though I do have a tune that is in progress. So yeah, and it's an interesting way the leadership structures of top guilds work. But this kind of also relates to yourself as a public figure and the fact that you stream and Tetsu streams as well, so he's going through the same things. Is that sometimes top guild raiding and streaming doesn't necessarily go hand in hand, and there's some conflicts in there that you will find, even though it's what will get you the most views at times, right? Like when Tetsu runs a speedrun progress world first stream, that's when he gets like the tens of thousands of viewer level streams, and then the rest of the time it's like a 500 to 1,000 viewers or something like that. There's a lot of content that he can't stream as well, right? There's a lot of times when I was on my progress tune. So for people that don't know, that maybe newer to the channel and such, I have a tune in progress, and I was in raid 3 for a while, and there's a lot of stuff that went out. Man, I was just having my fun. Raid 3, the best raid in progress, because it's like you get the good players, but it's like casual enough, but they're still good players, so you're still doing really good times and killing bosses efficiently. But there's none of the rules that hold back. When I look at like Tetsu, who's in like raid 1, raid 2, raid 3, raid 4, whatever, and he's in all of these tunes. When he's doing raid 1 and 2, he's like, oh man, I can't stream tonight. I can't do this. I gotta cut my stream short. And meanwhile, I'm just like in my raid 3, living life, clearing next Rammus really quickly, still beating hardcore guilds clear times in like the casual raid of progress. And there's so much restrictions if you want to actually be in the world first level guild and a streamer at the same time, because when it comes to tactics and all of that, how has that been for you in Rain?
In terms of like secret tactics and stuff?
In terms of has your streaming been affected, or how do you get around the fact that sometimes you can't stream stuff? Do you just like, well, I'm not streaming today, or
yeah,
what do you do?
Yeah, like this was also like a deal breaker for like one of my buddies who recently quit. Was that you couldn't stream PTR or couldn't stream like practices or anything like that. And I understand that because from my angle, I was always like, I am the person who joined this guild and want to stream their stuff. They don't have to cater to me, right? They didn't ask for a streamer to be in the guild. They were just like, hey, you're a good player. They wanted me because I'm a player, not a streamer. So they didn't ask for it, so it's on me to not do it, right? Or to leave. It's not on them to change their policy to allow me to stream, right? That's my thought process on it, is I feel like I'm the one who has to bend there, not them. So I wouldn't ask a guild to like change their policy so I can stream their practices if they have had an issue with it at all, right? I can't be like, oh, I get the most viewers during this time. Like, they shouldn't give a fuck if they're trying to be a competitive guild, and I get that. So you want to keep things under wrap. You want to keep strategies like close to the chest. So I don't blame them. And like you said, being a competitive guild and having a streamer in there is a lot of the times, directly opposed to itself. And I do echo that to some degree. Depends on the streamer too. I think I've told the story about like I used to have Peo in my guild, and he would be like half AFK on Broodlord, pull like 20 additional whelps into us, and I'd be like, what the fuck is going on? So I'm like tanking Broodlord. I alt tab, after I get like knocked or something, and now I'm no longer on the threat table. I'm like, okay, or I die or something. I alt tab over, and then I go look at Peo's stream, and he's just fucking dancing. He's dancing. His hunter's auto shotting. He's like, oh, and I'm like, yeah. I signed up for this. I put a streamer in my guild. I totally get it. He's an entertainer before he's a raider. That makes sense to me. Like, in my opinion, a lot of the best WoW streamers are entertainers before they are players. So, and I get that. So it makes a lot of sense to me. I also had Jokered in my raid, and he's kind of more towards being a player than a streamer. He's just a player who happens to stream, right? Is a lot of the times. And I think he's learning more and more about like, the culture of how to appease his chat that likes fart noises all the time. So yeah, the average WoW viewer is like some 70 IQ like mouth breather who's drooling over their keyboard and watches Jokered with fart noises in the chat all the time. That's the demographic we're trying to appeal to. So I think we're not quite getting there. We need more farts.
Yeah. I mean, you brought up the topic of some of the streamers are entertainers and some of them are gamers. It's interesting because you do notice that in that, especially if you are a streamer in a top guild. Even when I was in raid 3 in progress, even though they call that the casual raid, there's still expectations of performance, especially when you're in there and you're trying to be competitive with someone who's maybe he's in raid 3 that week, but he does raid in raid 1 sometimes, and he's a very good player. And as soon as you look away at chat for like 2 seconds and then you look back at the screen, you're like, oh no, I'm down like 5,000 in overall DPS now. And it just like pulls so far ahead of you that you can't really be an entertainer streamer in a lot of ways when you are in that type of guild. Because as soon as you're distracted for like 5 seconds, you just fall so far behind the other player.
Yeah, I'll tell you straight up, being a tank too, fuck. I looked away yesterday for like 1 second, and I didn't realize as soon as we killed Rage Winter Chill, they were going to just spawn the next wave. So I look away for like a second to talk to chat, and then I see out of the corner of my eye, I see ghouls like right on my character, and I was like, oh shit! So I had to like immediately sapper wave 1 with the 10 ghouls, and I was like, God, you can't look away at all. It's one of the things too where like paying attention to chat as somebody who has to be engaged for the raid is very difficult. If you're a DPS player, yeah, that's fine. I play my rogue, and my rogue is basically like just chatting, right? My rogues, a lot of my stream really likes when I play rogue, not because of the glaives, but because of I literally get to look at chat more because it's way more brain dead. You press the button when you have the energy to do it, and you rotate as maybe you don't let expose fall. So that's basically the extent of it. If I played Arcane Mage, it'd probably be even better. I could just press one button and then just talk to chat the whole time. I think, and that'd be good. So yeah, playing DPS is a lot easier to engage with chat than playing a healer or a tank. Somebody who's like a lot more responsible for things in the raid besides how fast it goes.
It's funny when you mention Peo, because as soon as you mention Peo in your raid, you can tell he's an entertainer first, because I already start picturing him dancing. And it's like the mental image is already funny in my head. And that's how you know he's that good entertainer streamer, because as soon as his name pops up, I already start picturing the shenanigans he's doing in the middle of the raid.
Yeah, Would I do it again? No. Was it fun when it happened? No. Looking back on it, is it a good memory? Yeah, it's good. Oh my god.
But yeah, so as a streamer in the guild, then what are your thoughts on how the guilds should handle that? As far as the fact that there's the argument of yeah, it helps with recruiting and promotions and such. Where do you think the balance lies in there exactly? Because it's kind of like a very blurry line there as far as like trying to handle being like the fact that you are a top player gets you viewers, but at the same time, if you pay too much attention to the viewers, you can't be a top player, and it like kind of infringes on your ability to be that top player.
Yeah, it really does. So sometimes I have to like neglect my chat, and I feel like the dad who's working and has a kid just wanting their attention. It's like, sorry, like I have to finish like writing this lecture, and kids just tugging at your heels. Yeah, I understand. I can play with you for a little bit, chat. Here we go. We wiped a little bit. Okay, it's good. But yeah, it's just kind of intermittent attention. If you actually want to like be a good raider. So
yeah, I mean, a lot of people don't realize that the difficulties of being a top player and a top raider in WoW isn't so much the mechanical stuff or any of that. It's just being focused and locked in for like the X amount of time that you're raiding.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of it is in a DPS perspective for someone that plays DPS is for me is like just uptime, being really fast engaging on uptime, and like you don't have the 2 seconds to look away from the screen at chat for a second and look back, because by the time you look back, you're like, oh no, I'm behind on uptime. I gotta catch up to these guys now because we just pulled like 2 mobs, and maintaining that focus where you're consistently jumping in and getting super high uptime on every single trash mob and every single pull is actually the difficulty of raiding in WoW or raiding in like a top speedrun level guild. It's not so much like the execution stuff. It's just like being focused enough to do that for an hour or an hour and a half or however long it takes the raid to do that is actually the hard part.
And don't get yourself killed. It's like actually paying pretty close attention to things. So yeah. I completely agree. Also, doing your due diligence and looking at your assignments, please. Your raid leaders usually spend a pretty good amount of time like figuring out assignments or setting it up, and they get more and more demoralized the less you look at them, because they're like, I did the work for you, all you have to do is look at it. So yeah, well, please, for their sake.
I mean, the interesting thing as well is that the more you go as a hardcore player, it actually becomes the less time you have to work on your stream stuff. And it's actually something Tetsu brought up in his video where he's like, as a streamer, like sometimes it conflicts with his goals as being that top player. He just like doesn't have the time to pay attention to both at all times, because there's a lot of requirements for people that don't know to be in a top level guild like that. You need to maintain a set amount of tunes. You need them to all be geared to a certain level. You got to make sure they have enough gold at any given time to do like potions or whatever else you need. You might have to main swap sometimes or swap tunes in and out. There's a lot of maintenance that goes into having the 3 tunes or whatever it is required by many top level guilds. And if you're trying to be a streamer at the same time with all that pressure of, oh no, my viewer numbers are down, or I got to put out YouTube content to make sure people find my stream, and all of that, it's like very counter to the goal of actually being that top raider. Is that WoW content creation and streaming by itself is a full-time job, and then but being in that top guild is also like a part-time job in itself. So trying to find a time for both is like really, really hard sometimes, and it's why a lot of times when I was in progress, I looked at Tetsu and I was like, man, like I'm sure I'd get more viewers if I made a tune and somehow got into raid 1 and 2 where they're actually competitive. But at the same time, man, I'd have so much less time to actually make YouTube videos and all of that if I was dedicating an amount of time to maintain those 3 characters that are required at a top level. And especially for a guild like Progress, who people know are known for their preparation, where they'll go to the point of leveling up entirely fresh tunes, having entire logs of quests ready to turn in so that he can have that advantage for the leveling speed up to be world first. There's a reason everyone knows that Progress has basically won practically every world first race since after, I think, MC. Was it after MC? Blackwing Lair onwards, I think, is when they started just being first in every single world first race. I think it was, and they've just been dominant ever since then. I don't think it hasn't even been close in a lot of cases ever since that time. So yeah, Progress is just known for that amount of prep, and then trying to prep that and then handle being a streamer and content creator at the same time. Super hard. Yeah, that's right. Calamity won Blackwing Lair, and then after I think was Progress second or third. I can't remember what Progress ended up there, but yeah, I think from after Blackwing Lair onwards, Progress won every single world first from that point on.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right about it. I think maybe
was Calamity first? Like who was actually first in Blackwing Lair?
Because it was a few seconds, right? It was like very, very close.
I mean, remember there was that whole controversy because like some guilds like tried to zone in from the one entrance, and then some in the other one that was inside the instance, and then the instance entrance wasn't turned on. And I know Apes was arguing about that as well. But yeah, I remember that. Oh man, the heyday of speedrunning. Yeah, what do you think as far as preparation and fairness goes, and for when it comes to the guild's goals in trying to do it, because that's actually one of the reasons Tetsu brought up for leaving was that the level of preparation wasn't there anymore. So what do you think is the preparation required? You think for a top level guild, since you were in Rain until that time? Like what's, I guess give us an example of what is your week like if as a top level guild player? Like what do you have to prep? Like what do you do goal wise and such?
It depends on how much you're PTRing. PTR kind of changed the way that people played towards the beginning for sure, because a lot of it was you're going to be looking at raid layout, you're going to be watching your VOD, you're going to be watching the VOD of other guilds that are having close times or showing new tech. So a lot of it is VOD review, outside of getting your consumables and your world buffs back in Classic. So a lot of that is just you have a meeting, you have a VOD review of your VOD, you have a VOD review of other VODs, you talk about strategies you want to implement, you go on PTR and you try to do them, and then you actually have to do them on game day. You usually, right before the raid, the first hour or so of the raid time, right? You show up at normal raid time. You don't actually go. The first hour of the raid is actually reviewing strategy and talking about the points where the beats you have to hit that might be new, or making sure everybody has the right weak aura. So things like the Fairlina Gigapole, it was like everybody has to have this weak aura. We're going to test it here. We're going to do a test run. We're going to make sure everybody has it, all that good stuff. So a lot of it is, I would say it's some guilds do multiple days of PTR, some don't. But VOD review was usually something that almost everybody had to do if you were trying to be competitive. And the preparation also came down to research. So seeing what other guilds are doing. Like right now, there's the mage kiting strategy that's come out for Illidari Council. If you know about that one. There's the triple cleave stacking, figuring out if you're going to reset after Terran Gorefiend or if you're not going to reset the instance. So like right now, people are doing, where are you tanking Mother? We're tanking her at the door in Who. So it's like as soon as she's dead, you just walk through the door. There's a lot, but also compositional things too. That's kind of probably the one that has the most drama behind it, is figuring out what comp you're going to run and what's best. Because that actually involves benching people from a speed run, right? And if you're trying to be competitive, sometimes you have to cut good players who might not play the right character. And that's something that's hard to justify, because you're just like, I'm cutting this guy for another warrior. You're like cutting one of your best mages, because you have like 3 or 4, for another warrior. Or you're cutting one of your warlocks for another warrior. Even though if they're a good player, they don't deserve to be benched. They just play the wrong thing. So that I think is one of the things that was always really hard. And right now, even there's different things where the right class might not be the one the right player might not be the one who has to take the reins of certain fights. because, for example, like Nagentis, right? If you're running a paladin and a druid, the druid is the one who should be DPSing, and the paladin is the one who should be tanking. But I know a lot of guilds that have their bear still tanking Nagentis, that has their bear still tanking Terran Gorefiend, right? And it's suboptimal. If you're actually trying to kill things as quickly as possible, the prop paladin should be tanking whatever fight they possibly can, because their damage is garbage if they aren't tanking, right? The druid's damage while DPSing is much higher than the paladins if they were DPSing and not tanking. So if you're actually trying to min max, the paladin should pretty much tank everything in Black Temple except for Gathios and Mother, because she doesn't crush, and so she just does damage based on the person's armor. So bears spike a lot less. And then Gathios, you want the HP pool for it, and then you can also, as a paladin, dual tank the rogue plus the priest. So that's like what Noobs is doing. Noobs just put up a 75-minute Black Temple, and so like I've watched their VOD a few times now, and they're running like 4 hunters, 5 warlocks, and only 2 tanks. And then their third tank is an arms warrior who literally just slaps on. He's not even like spec'd arms prot. He's literally 33-28-0, and he just slaps on tank gear for Mother and just becomes like a soaker, and that's it. So there's a lot of things where it's like the right person. Like if your bear is better than your prop paladin, but now your prop paladin has to become the main tank of everything, that's something that you have to work with. So trying to get people on the level they need to be is also another thing too, because there were a lot of like one-on-ones where you'd have to like, I would talk to my tank lead back in Classic, Thade, who I have a lot of respect for, and we would just discuss different things. Was he? Oh, fuck. Yeah. Just if I said I respect him, that was just a slip. Anyway, so yeah, we would like talk all the time about what we wanted to do on things and like swap off tanking consistently. So who tanks Illidan with 2 tanks? Just warrior with FR. Actually, what they did for Illidan is their main tank is the prop paladin. Their off tank is the druid and fire res. When they go to the flames, the druid tanks the later one that you're going to kill second, and the prop paladin who was tanking Illidan tanks the flame. He's taking 9k hits, but he tanks the flame. Yep. The prop paladin that was tanking Illidan just swaps his flask to chromatic resistance, swaps his aura so he has like 100, and they just pump heals into him, right? And so yeah, because there's 2 strategies that involve only 2 tanks on Illidan. It's the bear tanking both of the fire Ellies, or it's that one where you have their main tank also tank a fire Ellie that you kill first. So.
But yeah, like Chick says in chat, so who's ex progress as well. A lot of the speedrun stuff and top guild stuff comes down to preparation and then preparing, like seeing the tactics, and then because not a lot of guilds necessarily innovate, a lot of them also just copy paste, but then they're able to execute it really well. They don't necessarily need to innovate the strategy if they're just really, really good at executing the strategy, or they're very good at zigzagging or whatever the particular strategy is for that guild. And it's interesting also the side effect of how much preparation went into it in the past, as far as like even just having the 3 tunes, the summoning network, and all of that stuff. There's an argument to be made that some of the reason that some of these formerly top guilds aren't competitive in TBC is because they swapped factions. That I've seen that theory going around where like some of the guilds that were really competitive in Classic, they swapped from Alliance to Horde for that very slight racial advantage, and suddenly they lost like having access. Oh wait, I don't have my 3 characters already prepped. I don't have, like, for example, when I was in progress, one of the on Fire Mode, there's an entire server with a summoner network, and to even have access to the summoner network of warlocks that would summon you basically anywhere, you had to have like, you have to have this amount of summoners set up in this amount of spots, because you can't just leech, you got to be also providing the same summoning service to other people, and just having like entire summoning tune network, as soon as you swap factions, suddenly that's gone, and you got to build that up again. And do you think that has how big of a factor do you think that has been for the fact that like some of these guilds completely changed factions and they lost a lot of that prep that they built up over over the year or 2 years of classic?
I don't really think it's that big of a factor. Because like you can speed run on opposite faction. You can boost characters if you wanted to now and have like a second alt. A lot of people, like most people, have multiple characters now. And if they don't, it's very easy to get one up. So I don't feel like it's that massive of a factor because you don't need the summoning network either. You don't need the same infrastructure to like get world buffs, right? It's just not a thing anymore. So I feel like the necessary level of preparation before a raid is a lot more relaxed, so you can have more time to do the other things like prepare and think about it and premeditate and look at strategies. And I do want to touch on the thing where he's talking about execution versus innovation.
Yeah.
I think that is actually a very, very big deal, and something that bothered me a lot was because when I joined Rain, I realized that a lot of what Rain does is copy. Rain was very much so a copy these guys guild. There were some weak cores that we made ourselves that were very good and that would help us execute these things better, but we were very much so a copy people guild. Very much so copy. And the thing that I didn't like was whenever I had an idea, we didn't PTR enough, right? We PTR 1 day a week. And it was very much so just copy what other people are doing and practice one thing. And because you had to like copy characters over and it wasted like your world buffs a little bit to do so, you only had X number of times, or people didn't want to rebuff and stuff. You only had X number of times you could really do something on the PTR until people learned you could have like, infinite copies. But you could only do it like 10 times before people were either burned out or didn't want to run it anymore, etc. But I felt like the time for innovation, people went, our time on the PTR is better spent executing the things we know work than trying something to see if it works and then have other people copy it from us if it does. So this, I think, is a mentality that happens at the highest level for a lot of things. I want to use like League of Legends as an example. New character comes out. A lot of pro players don't touch the character until somebody else shows them it's good. Because they're like, if I scrim 5 days a week in these blocks, I don't want to waste my time playing characters that may not be good or viable. So they wait for somebody else to show them it's good. They wait for somebody else to come up with the build. They don't care about getting the edge over people in that 1 week. They care about using their time on things because they're like, hey, if you play this for 100 hours and you master it and then show me it's good, I'll learn it in 10, right? So you use somebody else's time where they were wiping over and over and over again to find out this Saffron Thaddeus strat, and then you do it because you saw it and you didn't have to brainstorm it or anything like that. They did it for you. So copying is much more efficient if you're a guild who's trying to be competitive. But if you're trying to be innovative, there aren't as many people who do that. And I completely agree with that because most of the times I had innovations, if we fucked it up one time, we would never try it again. Even if I thought it was still good, but if somebody messed up the execution, they'd be like, it's not worth the time. So we'd like try a skip that I came up with, and I'd be like, we could do this, and then we would try it, and like one person would fuck up their cloaking device, or one person would fuck up this, or that, or anything like that. Or like maybe they didn't have their potion cooldown ready because they used it previously on like a boss fight for some reason. And then they would fuck up, and then they'd be like, okay, let's restart. Never doing that again. And it's just like not even giving it another shot. Because they're like, we don't want to do that again because we're already having trouble with this gigapole. Let's use this time. Because, if you die once in a PTR session, you have to start all over again. Right? Because you lose all your world buffs. You can't just, you can't be like, oh, let's do the Fairlina gigapole and then let's go to stables and do the Resuvius pull, right? Or let's do the Thaddeus into Saffron. You had to clear the entire instance before you could actually do the Thaddeus into Saffron thing. So if you fuck it up, you have to go all the way back to the beginning and do it again. So yeah, it was it's much more efficient to copy people than it is to innovate. And a lot of people don't have the stomach to innovate because they're already having problems with other parts of the instance. And they're like, why are we trying to do this new thing when we can't even get this part right? So yeah, I feel like only the really top guilds can actually innovate and feel like it's not a detriment to their time because they're already doing well in other departments. So the freedom of innovation only happens when you have mastery of current things.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So
That's usually how it.
where do you come down on the topic of should innovation be shared though? Because that was a whole point of contention in Tetsu's video, and it's been a ongoing thing in the speedrun community as well. Because obviously we know that a lot of the innovation does come from a few select guilds, like that. There's like the guys at the top, like noobs, like progress, and that there's a few select guilds that are providing a large amount of strats. Even though from time to time another guild will come up with something and then everyone will copy and paste that, there's consistently been certain guilds at the top innovating the most. So how do you come down on the topic of whether it should be streamed, whether it should be shared, whether it should be a community thing where everyone builds up steam for each other? Because I feel like there's a whole bunch of topics built into that where some guilds don't care about, they're not really there to build up this big community. They're just trying to do this thing that they love to do and they're really good at it. They don't not necessarily going into it with the expectation of, yeah, I want to build speedrunning into this big thing and then let's all get rich and become like Method 2.0. For a lot of people, they just like speedrunning. They like innovating and like testing limits, and that's what they enjoy. They're not necessarily doing it to become rich and famous or anything like that. So I'm curious, where do you come down on that whole discussion, Zirene?
In my opinion, it comes down to the mentality you have as a competitor. If I actually think I'm the best, I don't care if you copy me. And if you copy me, I can learn from you and see if you execute it better and then better myself. For example, if I'm somebody who learns a secret pick for a League of Legends tournament, I know that this is going to win me the tournament. I don't want to share it ahead of time.
Smite LeBlanc support.
Right? Yeah, Smite LeBlanc support. I win the tournament because of this pick, right? Then everybody else plays it. Now I have to find a way to beat that, because there's going to be people who play it who are better than me at it because they're better players. I won a tournament because I cheesed it and I got my few seconds of fame, right? As a competitor, obviously you don't want to share it until it's game day. Then when it's game day, it's out there and it's public. That's what I think should happen. You keep your strategies close to the chest when you're innovating. You show it, you reveal it, you win whatever it is you're trying to win by using the strategy, or at least reap the popularity, the benefits, or whatever of being the innovator. But then it's everybody else's once it's at that point, right? So I think that's how it should be, because that just makes everybody better, because better people are going to copy you. You're going to learn from them. You're going to see what their twist on it is and how they do things. And then you're going to try to implement some of that yourself. Everybody copies each other. Even the best innovators take inspiration from other innovators. So in my opinion, they should be shared, but not while it's in like development, obviously. Right. So that's how I feel about it.
I mean, I guess the tricky thing there is that in WoW speedrunning and such, there's no like, oh, now is the time everyone shares the innovation, right? At least right now, we don't. It's not like we have DMF or anything like that, and so it's like kind of tricky in that there's no like, okay, everyone, we're all gonna share, we're all gonna go big on this DMF, and then all the strats are gonna be out there, and that's not a thing now, because now you can speedrun whenever you want. Any week is a speedrun week.
Yeah. And I think that's actually a big deal too, because there really isn't like a game day, right, for the month. It's all kind of just like every week. So it definitely did affect the scarcity of speed runs. But like what Shix was saying is that it doesn't matter if you're the best. It's the fucking pain of being innovated on PTR and other people gaining from those hours your guild spent that makes you not want to share this. I mean, it's 100% true. You go like, this is my work. This is what I did. I figured this out. That's going to be like me. I should be the one who comes out with the like victory here. I should be the one who gets to use this strategy, because like I said, somebody who spends 100 hours playing like a League of Legends character that's new, you don't play it because you don't know if it's worth your time. Then they beat you with it and you go, okay, let's learn about this. Takes you a tenth of the time to do what they've done, because they tried all the bad builds. They tried all the bad skill orders. You look at them and you go, okay, this person found out that Emax first is the best and that they buy this item in this order. So you're like, okay, yep, that makes sense to me. You didn't have to go through all that pain. People will copy people in almost everything that they do, right? It's funny too, because it's like you're not the first person to invent something as well as the innovator. You're not the first person to come up with a way to approach a champion or the way to approach like a PTR session. So people will steal from each other all the time. And I think it's just part of the pain of being an innovator in any space, to be completely honest. So, yeah, I mean, is the creator of podcasts out there going, fuck this show, they stole my shit? No. Like, they came up with the 2-box format. That's my thing. I spent hours trying to figure out what I should do, where the boxes should be on top of each other, but I came up with side by side. Fuck these guys. They took all that time. But yeah, that's just how it is. That's how humans are. It's how technology is, and that's how development is we're just going to take inspiration from each other constantly. And yes, I can I can go ahead and, get something in way fewer hours than somebody else who, created it. That's just that's the whole point of creation. If somebody else does work, takes the time, and then everyone else gets to benefit from it and do it or execute it in a shorter amount of time. It's why experiments are a thing too, right? It's why research is a thing. Right? They do all the things and report that they don't work so that the people don't have to waste their time doing that.
Man, I was like, it's the I made this meme. I love that meme.
It 100% is. It 100% is. I mean, the I made this meme is like, it's the pain of being the creator of it, where people will take what you do, not try to pass it off as their own, but a lot of the times they just forget where they got it, right? They don't know where they got it, or they don't understand where they got it, right? They don't mean to yoink it. They just do it because they think it's theirs. So, I mean, there's tons of things where like I've probably done that with things, right? Like where did you decide to make a 2-box format for a podcast? I don't know. It was your idea. You don't know where you got the idea from. You don't know who you got it from. It's like the loot spreadsheet you showed for BT Mount High Jaw. Yeah, right. That was somebody else's thing, edited by a different dude. That was somebody else's thing, edited by a different dude who put in a lot of work to it, shown by me and you. So it's like, whose work is it really?
Yeah, I mean, that goes down that whole rabbit hole of attribution and like shouting out the people. Like, you stand on the shoulders of giants, but you got to shout out the giants that came before you that made it possible as well. And then that gets really messy when you get into the speedrunning talk, because then you're like competitors who constantly might trash talk each other from time to time as well. But at the same time,
fuck they.
At the same time, like, you still have to give the shout out to like if progress comes up with a strat, or if noobs comes up with a strat, or whatever it is. That's why the people like really care about whose name goes on the strat sometimes, because the people want to look at that and be like, yeah, it's like the nota pool, or it's like progress when they did the saffron thing. And the attribution is really important to the people more. I think people that don't invent things or don't spend that time to do the innovation part of it don't understand the amount of pain and hours that goes into it. That's why they care so much. That's why the people that do all those things really care about like having their name attached to it, because at least then they get something from it. When someone steals it, then at least like, oh yeah, that's Zirene's thing. He came up with that. And then at least, even though now all his work is being copied and like everyone's doing what Zirene did, but they're doing it in like a fraction of the time, at least then in your head you're like, oh, okay, yeah, at least the 2 hours or 5 hours I spent to do that thing is now worth it, even though everyone else can now do that thing in 5 minutes because of that work that I put in.
Yeah, the attribution is very important. Attribution is also a two-way street. Somebody said pulling a Zirene in BGs. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. You could, like, pulling a Zirene in BGs could be when you're spamming the flag and picking it up as you're running, right? And it just sounds the horn. Or pulling a Zirene in BGs could be like you're 0 and like 15. Who knows, right? But as soon as something's named after you, the attribution is very important. Sometimes, like I said, the negative ones you don't really want associated with you, but the positive ones, I definitely think, like you said, make it all worth it. I actually very, very much so believe that attributing things when you can is a very big thanks to them. And I would feel very flattered if there was like a Zirene poll or something that I had come up with that got named, right? So, and then people use the name.
Oh, speaking of which, are we done with the guild talk? You think? Is there anything else we can cover this? I think because Bobka is edging for the glaive cutie talk.
He's edging for the glaive cutie. Oh shit. Okay, yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay, so for people that don't know, Zirene has glaives now. He has the full set. He got it week 3. He has the glaives, and he immediately took it into. When you want to know how Zirene's time went as the glaive, I heard you got glaives, and then I was like, oh, I wonder what Zirene's doing right now. Is he streaming? And then I pop into your stream, and this was happening. Chat. This was happening.
At the top. I don't know.
It's Bobka. It's Bobka in reality, dude.
We love this so much, man.
All right, what are we doing?
We're killing the rogue 100%.
All right.
Join me.
All right. Are we sapping Warlock or no?
No, we just find the rogue.
Okay.
Kill him.
No, Bobka, I'm sorry.
It's just like the laughter in that clip. Bobka wants us to post the second game.
Yeah, Creevesy is carrying that team.
Yeah. So people who don't know, Creevesy is like a very, very good rogue. He's like
he's very good,
very good, very, very good rogue. And I mean, the hilarity of this clip is that like, when you watch it, you know that that Zirene doesn't really know what he's doing in a lot of the comms. He's just opening, and you guys haven't really even communicated the full strategy of like, okay, who's doing this at what time. You guys are literally just being like, okay, I guess I do cheap shot kidney, you do the garrote, and then we figure it out from there, right? And
because he found Bobka there. He did cheap shot rupture because he knew Bobka was probably going to vanish almost immediately. And then I got the follow-up cheap shot, and then he already kidneyed.
Like, kidney. Yeah,
he already kidneyed, and so I was like pressing kidney, and I'm like, I guess I just rupture here. Okay, like I have like a rupture on him and like 4 combo points. And I'm like, I can't even dump these things fast enough for how quickly Bobka's going down. He didn't even get glaved hard, dude. Creevesy did like double my damage.
Yeah, Creevesy did more damage. That's the funniest part, and like the best part is I rewatched it. I was like, wait, why didn't like reality peel or something? And then I looked back at the clip, and then I realized as soon as you guys opened, you both pressed Cloak of Shadows, and for the entire time, reality is just like staring at 2 Cloak of Shadows rogues just destroying Bobka. There's literally nothing reality could have done in that situation. All he can do is like just stare at Bobka getting 100 to 0'd by 2 rogues. Because I mean that's the pity. That's why in the clip, if I minimize it, you can see I started laughing in the chat as soon as you zoned into the arena, because I know the pain. I know the pain of being a horde side rogue versus 2 human rogues on this map in particular. There's literally nowhere Bobka can go, because like if you guys just divide and cover half the arena each, there's literally just nothing he can do. He's gonna get found. And as soon as he trinkets, he's going to eat like a kidney shot and die. There's literally just nothing he can do. He can try to trinket, vanish, cheat one of you guys, but then he's going to get blinded, and then he's going to get reset on, and he's going to get 100 to 0. There's literally just nothing he can do.
Even then, the like reality, we could just double blind him, right?
Yeah.
It's like blind into DR blind. Like there might be a coil that comes in, and that's our trinket, and then we get blound or something like that. That's the past tense of blind.
Yeah, I mean, shout out to Chan in the chat. Chan was loving it in the chat.
Oh yeah, Chanimal was in there too. Yeah. You and Chanimal just fucking.
We're laughing. Oh man, I was having a great time watching this, because this comp is so disgusting. Playing double rogue, and the thing about rogue especially double human rogue. And the only
double human rogue and double undead rogue will be really, really fucked up.
The only team I've seen that counters it or has had any success with dealing with it is Chanimal, when he like summons he actually has a whole thing where he summons a
Voidwalker?
succubus.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he summons a succubus as soon as he sees 2 stealths because he knows like, oh, it's that double rogue team. At that moment, they didn't know it's the double rogue team, and then they have all these shenanigans, positioning in certain spots and putting the succubus and then they have a fighting chance. But yeah, if the double rogue human team gets the opener, it's like GG. There's so many clips of even Mir just getting opened on, and then he just sits there and gets 100 to 0. There's nothing you can do.
If it's a druid, it's a little different, but like
The top.
warlocks, for some reason now, I don't know why. Maybe it is the glaives, but I really have a hard on for killing warlock pets. Like,
I did see you guys try to do the pet kill strat later.
Yeah, but like I'm finding out the best way to kill pets, and it's like legitimately don't even cheap shot it. It's a waste of energy. I should just be opening, and then I should dump full energy on it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is, when I was watching you and
destroys
Creepsy, is that I mean, Creepsy wasn't even spec'd for the double rogue because you guys weren't even doing ambush shenanigans and such.
Yeah. We tried something the next day, and we got a 2350. We tried something the next day, and it was like he was like imp expose and he was ambush spec, and then we both spec'd out of cheat death for the 10% more damage on opener. So it was like we were fucking around with all these different specs.
I mean, there's a clip of Zico that was floating around where he goes against double rogue, and they both open. I think they both open an ambush, and he's got no shield and half HP at that point, and they both vanish cloak and run away. And then while he's just being like, oh, they both ran away. I don't know what's going on, and then suddenly he just gets double ambushed again. So he does nothing the entire time. He just gets double ambushed into double ambush and dies.
What the fuck? Wait, who was his partner?
I can't even remember. I think he was actually playing with Josito or something.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it was.
Oh, the chat cover didn't change. Oh, you could go further into the VOD. And see
I did enjoy the Zirene versus Bobka. The shenanigans.
Oh fuck. I immediately got a DM from him right afterwards.
Dude, the best part is I went in Bobka's chat to see what he was saying, and then
you did, and you
he was raging and because he didn't know it was you. You know, he was like, oh, these, because every arena player hates double rogue human side because it's just like a really dumb comp that you can't fight against a lot of the time. So he was just bad mouthing it, and I was like, you know that's Zirene, right? And he's like, what the fuck is Zirene? I'm messaging him right now.
Yep. Glaive QT dude had to go incognito, but it doesn't last very long.
Yeah, for the people that don't know, Zirene changed his name to Glaive QT as soon as he got double glaives.
Yeah. There's a name change tech out there that I don't want to share yet because I want to use it at least one more week to change my name back from Glaive Cutie.
Whoa! You can't leave the legend of Glaive Cutie.
Just wait. Oh shit!
So on the whole topics of the double glaive, though.
But random thing. Why is there not a name change service in the game?
There is one in retail, right? I assume there's one.
Yeah, there is one in retail, and it comes out in Wrath, I believe. Like, I've changed my shaman's name from Lust Now back to Shami Milkers because I didn't like Lust Now anymore because the meme was gone. Like, I transferred Benediction, changed my name from Shami Milkers to Lust Now, and then I was like, you know what? I wanted to actually change it back to Shami Milkers. So I did that. There is a way to change your name in the game, and it's not a paid service. There's a bug that lets you change. It doesn't fuck up anything royally from what I've seen. It just One, your logs get fucked because it just changes your name. I'm sure you could email them and have them merged or something. And that, like, you have to leave your arena teams and you leave your guild. But that's it. So I'm just like, why is this not like a paid service? Like, why can't I pay to do this instead of like abuse a bug? So don't ban me, Blizzard. I already reported it to their QA. So, you know, I am just gathering data for them. Poggers. Please no ban Arena.
Maybe that's how it goes down. You get all your characters banned because you change your name to Glaive Cutie. But yeah,
that would be sad. How's your PvE DPS? Did it increase? It increased when I had main hand. I haven't been able to do PvE. I play on the rogue tomorrow. For double glaives in BT High Shawl.
Oh, so tomorrow's your first raid. Are you changing anything talents wise, or how you're gonna play with double rogues at least, or anything? Or are you just gonna go your normal?
For like double rogue,
double glaive. I mean, are you changing anything for your PvE stuff?
I don't think so. I think I'm still keeping my PvE talents the same that they were, because I'm just using I'm not using poisons in my offhand. I'm using sharpening stone.
Ooh, why are you going sharpening stone? Yeah, that's right. Someone did tell me that you were doing more like sharpening stone shenanigans.
Yeah, I've been using sharpening stones for a long time now on my offhand, because the sharpening stone affects your main hand and your offhand. So it's the plus 12 damage to main hand and offhand and crit. So the sharpening stone affects like your ability to crit eviscerates, to crit things in general, and the damage is post offhand damage reduction. So offhands do like 75% of their normal damage. This is just a flat plus 12. So for your offhand in particular, it's as if it were like plus 18, plus 16. Yeah, it's almost as if it were like a plus 16 on a weapon before it gets nerfed by the offhand penalty. Yeah. So I don't like using deadly poison.
Well, I mean, deadly poison is worse on trash anyway, right? If you were min-maxing, you'd be doing sharpening stones, trash, and then like deadly on the boss, assuming the boss fight is long enough to stack up deadly.
Yeah. Also, I mean, if you're, I don't like using, like, if you weren't using sharpening stones, you'd use like instant and then deadly. I don't like swapping for bosses, and I think that sharpening stone just is good in general. Deadly poison has a lot of RNG to it, in my opinion. I lose eviscerate talents to do that, which does hurt my trash damage again. And so there's a lot that goes into it in my mind, where I feel like sharpening stone is just straight better. I get to keep evis talents. My damage on trash is still a little bit better. And then on top of that, I don't have to worry about these stacks of poisons that sometimes wear off randomly. Like I've lost 5 stack poisons so many times. And I've just been like, should I have shivved there to keep it up? Like,
I always shiv if it's about to fall down. I think statistically it's worth to shiv at a 5-point deadly when it's about to drop. Yeah, but I was just like, I don't want to have to like think about those things.
Also, people are like, why don't you just use instant poison? I'm like, I don't want to grief Storm Strike. So from the Ellie Shaman, I play an Ellie Shaman. I know what it's like to have your Storm Strike griefed. Apparently, Thunder Fury does it too. So yeah, it's bad times.
I mean, there's the whole topic of evis versus other finishes as well. And trash damage is really fascinating, because when I was in progress in classic, I used to raid with what was his rogue? I forgot what his other rogue's name is, but we had a rogue who raided in both the main raid as like the exposed armor rogue in the main progress raid, but he also had a second rogue equally geared in raid 3. So I'd always look at his logs to see what was he doing that I could do better, or like what was he how was he playing differently that made him a good rogue at that level. And interestingly enough, when I looked at his logs, he would eviscerate way more than any of us. And then I was like, man, why are you eviscerating so much? And then I realized that it was because, like, even though the thinking is, oh, okay, I use my points, I slice and dice, and I go to the next trash mob, and hopefully we're pulling fast enough that I can keep the thing going. He was just making sure that he used every time he had points left over, he'd like eviscerate and then go to the next mob, eviscerate, go to the next mob. And it seems like that was just a more efficient usage of the points, because you lose a little bit swapping between mobs when you slice and dice and such of the effectiveness. Whereas when you eviscerate, you just like you get the damage and you go on to the next mob.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting.
I'm a big eviscerate player too. I love evis a lot. It's actually probably like one of my favorite moves in the game. It's a very satisfying ability to have crit. I like it a lot.
So yeah, I mean, what has this just been your experience with double glaives then? Is that you just done the PvP stuff, I guess?
Yeah, so far. I mean, I do PvE tomorrow, so it's the Friday the 18th. So
I am looking forward to see what happens with your logs, because your logs are already pretty good, because your guild clears fast enough, and like with the good enough strats that your lugs are already like pretty good. But we'll see what happens when you get double glaives, because that's what, like another 100 and something DPS on top, maybe.
Yeah, it's something like that.
Because I think
have no
if I
idea,
remember off the
honestly.
top of my head, I think the proc is worth like 100, and offhand or offhand upgrade is like 30 or something. I can't remember what it is. So I assume you're gonna be pumping in your next raid.
Yeah, I think. Oh yeah, I think when I got my first glaive, I think when I got the main hand, I RP walked all the way to Elwyn Forest, out of Stormwind, and killed Hogger as my first mob with my glaive. So that was that was the first thing, and then there was like a low level guy there, and so I just ended up killing all of the mobs that were attacking the low level night elf. Oh god.
Did you get any how many hate tales though did you get? And any nice hate tales recently now that you have actual glaive set?
No, because I've been like 2,300 on my twos team, so I haven't been on like any bad teams. I think I just left the team too, so I'm like back down to playing on a 1,600 team right now. Every week I just swap teams right now because I just want to try out different comps, because I was playing like Rogue Feral for so long.
Yeah.
I want to try out like Rogue Disc, Double Rogue. I definitely like the Double Rogue, but Creevesy usually plays Rogue Lock.
Yeah. Creevesy is like one of the few roguelock players left at that high level, because it's actually kind of a rare comp to find once you get to a certain MMR. There's a ton of roguelock players, but once you get to a certain MMR, it kind of thins out a lot, because the roguelocks it's a comp that gets really hard stuck against the rogue priests. And once you hit a certain MMR, you run into every second team is rogue priest at that point. And then it becomes really hard. I think like even the guy who made the rogue lock guide that everyone uses, Pretender, I think they tried to do a rank 1 push, and man, they tanked at the end of the season. It was rough. Yeah, I think they even tanked out of Glad range trying to do the rank 1 push. All right, so we do have the topic of the wow up and curse and all of that with the add-ons. Yeah, so have you heard about this, Zirene? Where they so everyone gets the add-ons from curse, and then I believe they bought Overwolf. I can't remember. I think they acquired Overwolf or whatever it was, and they're distributing add-ons now through Overwolf as the download program. So for people that don't know, usually when you get add-ons, you can get them, you can go straight to a curse and download them, but a lot of people use third-party add-ons like WoW Up or other things that basically make it way easier, because then you can search every database at once, you can update with like one click of the button, and it just makes managing add-ons a lot easier if you're someone that uses a lot of add-ons in particular. What's happened recently is that Waggo and Curse have been fighting at each other, because Waggo is trying to develop its own add-on service, basically, which would directly compete with Curse. Or here's what Overwolf at least is saying is the problem, is that for WoW App and other add-on apps that go through and use the Curse Forge system, they say authors do not give the consent to have the creations distributed outside of Curse Forge. The authors, and in this case the authors they're talking about is the add-on authors, authors' earnings will be impacted, as CurseForge has no way of monitoring engagement outside its own ecosystem, and changes are coming to the rewards program. Downloads originated from third-party services rely on CurseForge servers and CDNs, incurring substantial costs and offering nothing to cover them. So they're basically saying that if you want to have access to this now, you're going to have to let us control and basically have access to like the WoW app, how they do things, and change the whole way to access everything, and to make sure like the authors are being credited and such. But the problem is a lot of people hate Overwolf. A lot of people. I don't. Have you ever used Overwolf, Zirene? It's like very bloatware.
It's invasive.
Yeah.
Even when it's like trying not to be invasive, it's still very invasive, and I hate it.
Yeah, so for people that played like League of Legends and such are familiar with Overwolf, because there were a lot of League of Legends add-ons and things that you could get for Overwolf. And I think the general consensus is that for most people that tried it, it was just a lot of bloat. There was a lot of bloat. And To talk about what they were saying, what they're saying, add-ons makers are not paid when they go through WoW up and updaters and such. There's this whole thing which is that I don't think a lot of add-on makers even go into it to really get paid. But I was curious about it, so I messaged Red Tusk, who is the developer of the UI that I make. It's a skin for LVUI and such, and he has literally some of the most downloads for any LVUI add-on skin maker and such. But he didn't even know how much add-on makers get paid per 1,000 downloads and such, because
I don't know either.
he's never gone at it to make money, and he's never monetized anything or anything like that. He has like a donations page, but as most people know, you're not really getting donations for the most part for making an add-on, unless you do it like there's a weak aura creator in retail. I forgot what his name is, but he makes weak auras for all the different classes, really, really good ones. And then he monetizes it by streaming and such, and then doing other content and such. And then he uses the old embed thing, where if you go to his website to grab his stuff, it plays his stream, and then every time he streams, he'll get like a bunch of viewer embeds through that, and that raises the presence of his stream.
They took that away.
They did not take that away, actually. I think.
Didn't? Oh.
No. So that's actually a whole thing that's been going on, is that on Twitch, you can still embed and get views. And at some point, they said they were taking it away, but it seems they just like backpedaled on that, and you can still embed your Twitch stream onto a different website and get views that way. And that's how streamers like Fextra Life, people know every time a new game comes out, Fextra Life has like 100,000 viewers or whatever, because they embed your stream into their wiki, and everyone that uses the wiki just like it inflates their views to crazy numbers. But then you go into chat and it's like fairly dead for someone of that size. Yeah. Okay. It's actually interesting that they never did anything about that.
I thought they did, because there was a guy who did a bunch of guides in League, and he would do like all the Mobifier guides, and then he would embed his stream into those guides, and he'd go into his chat, and he would have like 1,000, 2,000 viewers all the time, and then his chat would have nobody in there except for people saying that he's botting.
Yeah. I forgot who that was, but was that the Talon player? There was a Talon player that did that. Yeah, and then every time I go into League of Legends streamer directory, he would be like offline, but with 500 viewers or something, playing a VOD, and it would just be like the embed views. But yeah, so it's interesting. I did look around and ask a few people. Some people told me that you get maybe $5 or something per 1,000 downloads. So I did hear rough numbers like that, but I haven't been able to confirm whether that's actually true or not. But I heard something like $5 per 1,000 downloads, and then I looked at it, and man, like the big websites, like the big add-ons like DBM and such, they must make like a decent chunk for being downloaded that much. But before you get to that level, I did look at all the other add-ons, like there's like Attune. Attune's a very good add-on that a lot of people are using now to check their guild's attunements and to follow along with the attunement progress. And that's an add-on that's basically gone viral. Almost everyone I know has Attune installed at this point. And they don't have enough downloads to... Well, I can pull out. They don't have enough downloads to actually, like, for it to be like a full-time thing or anything. Or to sustain it long-term. Okay, so Attune, for example, has 4.9 million downloads. Wait, how much is that if he's getting $5 per 4.9 million divided by 1,000 times 5? So that's like 24,000 or something, $25,000. I think that is, if my math is right. Yeah, so it's like 25K if you round out 25K, and that's like something that's gone viral and everyone's using. So unless you're like a really, really, really big player like DBM or something that literally everyone uses, I don't think your downloads ever reach a point where you'd actually look at this and be like, yeah, this is going to be like a big income generator or something.
When I update it, does that count too?
Yeah. So it feels like the statement that, a lot of creators are worried about getting paid. I think a lot of add-on creators just do it because they like tinkering with stuff. I don't think a lot of them do it because necessarily they're doing it for many. At least I know Red Tusk, who makes a lot of the add-ons and weak auras and stuff that a lot of the rogues use or are used in the past. I don't think he really comes. He has a day job, right? And then he just tinkers around. He likes doing the add-ons. I don't know. It's kind of upsetting that it's going to be hard to update add-ons now. that I'm literally going to have to do manually because I don't want to install Overwolf. So I'm literally going to have to go and manually update all my add-ons one by one whenever they're updated and such. Yeah,
I just want add-ons to be as easy as possible to download. And I understand that, like,
I mean, this is the Netflix problem. This is the Netflix
yeah.
problem, like Netflix versus Disney and such, where like it's something where if everything is on the one place, it's really, really nice. But as soon as it starts being in like 5 different places, I start going back to like, man, I just want to pirate stuff again. I don't want to sign up to 5 different services to watch different shows.
Pirate stuff.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go back to downloading or watching streams or something because it's so frustrating. I'm happy to pay for the service, but if I have to pay for Netflix, I gotta pay for HBO, I gotta pay for Disney Plus now. It's like, how many services do I have to pay for just to watch the shows that you want to watch now? It's getting to the point. I hope that doesn't happen with add-ons where I have to start downloading my add-ons from 5 different places and having 5 programs to update them because none of them want to talk with each other or they're all considered competitors. And it feels like that's the way it's probably gonna go. But, yeah.
It's not a bright future in regards to that. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of like, I had to upload my shit or download my shit from Overwolf. I used the Twitch add-on at one point.
Oh yeah,
the Twitch
add-on. Yeah, I use that as well. But then Overwolf bought them,
Curse.
I think.
Yeah, and then I moved to Curse. So it's like, I'm just like, this stuff is, I just don't like it.
Yeah.
Everything being highly monetized. I mean, I get it. Like, these people need to make money. They make add-ons that people download. And I actually had this conversation a week or 2 ago before this all came up. And I was like, how do people like make money off of these add-ons? I'm like, how do DBM how do these guys make money? Because they've been like updating these things for years. Do they have like a second job and they just do it as like a passion project? Some people are like, oh no, like big companies or whatever, teams sponsor like DBM or something. So yeah, I was like, okay, but what about the small guy who's like doing this one or that one? It's like,
yeah, this small guy doesn't make anything. Yeah, the small guy doesn't make anything. It's a passion project.
Yeah. Like, if it turns into a high revenue thing, then that's good for those people. I actually like when that happens. But is it something that is meh for me? Yeah, as a consumer. But will I do it because I understand? Yeah. But will other people do it? No, because it's inconvenient.
Yeah.
So,
but yeah, I guess we can end up with the with the changes, Zirene. The pass changes. Mm-hmm. The good old pass changes. So chickens. Your reign of terror is gone. No longer will chickens be be stopping us from passing. Or rather, from now on, the warlocks in my guild better pay me a fee to not use my chicken every raid if they don't want the logs to be invalidated.
Ooh.
Oh, did you were you passing? Well, I just accidentally pressed chicken.
Oh god. But
yeah, so for people that don't know, basically what happened is so Warcraftlogs stepped in and they did a bunch of polls and now all of these changes are in. So Gurthog Blood Bowl's fail rate is now normalized because in the past, in order to pass, you had to or rather if you got the debuff or whatever it was and then you did damage, you did so much damage. Like rogues would get the debuff and just go crazy. You just hit evasion and you go crazy.
I actually wonder, because if it's normalized, that means that they're taking whatever bonus it is to like your damage and like lowering or basically taking what your damage would have been, right?
I guess so. Yeah.
So it's like, oh, during this time he had a 300% damage increase. Then you just take a third of his damage, right? Or like a fourth of his damage if it's like, you're doing 400% of what you normally do. So you just do that shit. But I'm sitting here going like, if I'm a caster and I get this, Gurthog's going to be hitting me and I'm going to have pushback and he does a knockdown. So getting like Fel Rage might actually hurt you if it's like normalized just straight up where they just reverse whatever damage buff you have. So might be something there that's a little bit Monka W.
Okay, so what else did it change? They changed the Reliquary of Souls, so intermission downtime will be moved. I mean, that's fine. Chickens, battle squawks are banned. That's hilarious. Well, I'm glad that they did something about it because I think that's the way it should be. That if something becomes just dumb and it gets I guess what's the word I want to use gets frustrating to use or becomes unfun and a lot of people start doing it and everyone else feels the pressure to also do that because some people are doing it. Even when you're not doing it, it's in the back of your mind of, oh, should I be doing this? But I don't want to do it because it's annoying. So yeah, in a lot of ways, Warcraftlogs has to save us from ourselves, as GBB is saying in chat, in that by getting rid of the chickens now no one has to worry about the chickens. And I know there's a lot of people angry about that because or upset because they wanted to experience the 5 chicken cheese and they enjoy doing that because it is fun. And don't get me wrong, it is fun when you have 5 chicken buffs on a bus. But in a lot of ways, Warcraftlogs just they're trying to prevent it from becoming like a world buff meta or a chicken meta or just make it more accessible to more people. And I think that's actually a good thing to have passes more accessible to more people who want to partake in it, without it just being like this really niche elitist thing all the time. I think it's healthy for the game to have more people excited about passing. Whereas if they're not excited, they look at it and be like, oh man, I gotta do chicken cheeses to participate. I don't want to do that.
They mentioned the Archimonde cheese is not allowed and will count as an invalid log.
Yeah. So for people that don't know, that's basically where there was a spot where you could pull him and then you basically avoid mechanics on Archimonde when you do that.
Has that ever stopped the Chinese from coming up with strategies?
Oh, no.
No, it has not. And so I present to you, Snow, the new Archimonde cheese.
Oh, God. Okay. Let me open this.
So the new Archimonde cheese is you pull him and tank him on the other side of the tree stump. And then this downed tree has a branch on top of it here that if you all stand here, when he air blasts, you just get bonk your head on it. And the fire just goes out and it doesn't know how to get to the tree. And it's not line of sight either.
So is this banned by Warcraftlogs or is this okay?
I don't know. But this the new Archimonde cheese. So I don't know what they're gonna do here. Silence? I don't know. But yeah, it's basically accomplishing the same thing that the other cheese did.
The big brain Chinese play.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you could just make it that if you go this far, he fingers to death. I don't know, but that was basically the whole reason that they cut off like the
remove
tree.
the tree.
Yeah, it's why you can't you can't kite him to like Tyrande or anything like that. He just fingers of death when you get too far. So we'll play it again one more time. This guy's teleporting around. Yep, and you just bonk your head. Super easy. But like I said, nothing will stop the Chinese from coming up with cheese strategies for their GDK piece, you know?
Yeah, so I don't know if that's what they're gonna do about that. If maybe that change counts as well for that cheese, but I don't know. I guess Warcraftlogs will have to look at the new cheese to see if that's invalidated as well. But what else did they change? They said adds, Doomguards, and Infernos on the Netherun and adds galore are excluded from damage done unless they die. Okay, so that's fine. So that's just like a law then. Where if you want to cheese the adds, you got to kill them.
Yeah, but they did AoE stuff anyway, so it's not a big deal, right? Like the Doomguards war stomped and stunned, and then the Infernals did a 3k immolation aura that kills everybody in like 4 ticks if they're not getting constantly healed. So yeah, there was no way that this was like something that was a big deal.
Yeah, most people, they don't mind.
They just wanted to make sure.
I am very happy that they removed Shade of Akama though, because God, that passing on that fight or trying to figure out like how am I supposed to be passing on this fight was really dumb.
Yeah, only certain mobs counted. Yeah. Only certain mobs
literally
counted
you had to find sorcerers and channelers, and then you had to hope they didn't die fast enough, and then you had to cleave them both down at the same time to make it worth.
Mm-hmm.
And if your guild did any of the siege shenanigans where they dragged a mob in and then seeded, everything died way too fast. So you can't do the seed thing. You gotta hope you're not doing the siege strategy. And then you had to pop Bloodlust early because it was this whole thing where you started developing your entire strategy around like a really dumb pass mechanic. I really did not like trying to do Shade of Akama passing.
But I think all these are like pretty decent changes.
You know, I'm happy to making these changes because, like I said, I think the overarching thing is that I just hope that passing becomes less of something that the casual player will look at and be like, oh yeah, this is dumb. I don't want to do that. Because it helps if they have something that they can do, something fun that they can engage in and such. So the less of the elitist battle chicken stacking thing that you get, the better it is for the overall population. Because these types of things are what keeps people engaged in the game and keeps them having fun in it. And if the casual player can't participate in it, then they never make that leap into someone that plays more WoW or wants to do more of the things that the niche player enjoys doing. But yeah, so I mean that's all I got this week, Zirene. You got anything else to add?
Nope, that's it from me.
All right.
Play with the glaives on Friday. So
yeah, I mean no Blizzard news, but we still managed to pop it out to.
No Blizzard news is good news for Blizzard.
No Microsoft news, I should be saying. No Microsoft news in the last 2 weeks. But maybe next week we'll see. We'll see whether we have a podcast next week if Blizzard wants to do some fun things to the game. But yeah, thank you for hanging out today, guys. We got a good solid 2-hour podcast in. And yeah, we'll catch you guys next podcast. Take care.
All right. Yep.